y'all, it's Miss Rogers here. Today we're going to talk about adding fractions. And I know every time I throw that word fraction out there, it freaks everyone out. Okay, so I'm going to hit home with a lot of you all, make you feel like how I felt when I was in school, because I'm in the same boat as a lot of you all probably. When I was in school, and especially elementary school, I never was a fan of fractions. Fractions always scared me. They made me terrified in math class all the time. And I think I was terrified or really uncomfortable with fractions because they made me get out of my comfort zone, because fractions aren't clearly stated like some math problems. When you're giving a math problems where you have to add two numbers up or something like that, you know that you have to do that operation. But with fractions, and when you add or subtract fractions or whatever operation you're doing with fractions, you kind of have to think a lot more than what you usually do. So I think a lot of times people are afraid of fractions, or they don't like fractions because fractions make you get out of your comfort zone, and fractions make you think. They make you use your knowledge on math that you have. So now that I'm in the classroom all the time, teaching other kids and everything, I deal with fractions all the time. So I'm not terrified or scared or I dread fractions anymore. I kind of like fractions now, now that I've been used to them and I'm comfortable with them. So I'm hoping after this video, it kind of helps you all get used to fractions and maybe enjoy fractions, maybe not as much as I do, but enjoy them a little more than what you used to. So let's get into today's topic of adding fractions. So when I talk about adding fractions, we need to know what a fraction is, okay? And remember, a fraction is just a way to represent or to show a part of a whole that you're talking about. So if I gave you the fraction 3/5, okay? This top number is my numerator, okay? So my numerator is 3. My bottom number, which is 5, is called my denominator, okay? A way to remember that denominator starts with a D, down starts with a D. That's how I always remember the difference, okay? So if I'm talking about a fraction, I'm going to put it over here. A fraction, meaning it's a part of a whole, okay? I need to realize or figure out which part represents my part and which part represents my whole. Okay, so in my fraction, 3/5, my 3 is my part, because it's showing you what you're using. Your 5 is your whole. Okay, so if I was to represent this with a picture, okay, I need to represent 3 being my part, or the 3 that I'm using, or 3 that's being shaded in, and my 5 being my whole. So I'm going to cut my rectangle up into 5 pieces. Okay, I'm going to erase that and make it a little bigger so I can use my whole rectangle. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. So this is my whole. 5 pieces down here. 5 equal pieces is my whole. Now I'm going to pay attention to this 3, which is my part, and what I do with that, I'm going to shade in 3 parts. So my picture represents 3/5. 3 pieces are shaded, and there's a total of 5. Okay, so that's what a fraction is. It just shows you what is being represented as part and what is being represented as the whole. Okay, so if we go into today's topic of adding fractions, we need to know how to work with adding fractions. Okay, so like I said, fractions can be scary for a lot of people, but the more you see fractions and the more you work with fractions, the more comfortable you get. So I have 2 rules up here, or 2 things you do when you add fractions. So the first thing you need to do when you come across 2 fractions and you need to add them is you need to make sure you have the same denominator. Okay, and that's important because if you're adding 2 fractions, you need to make sure your wholes are the same. So if I give you the fraction 2/5 and I want to add 1/6, you cannot add these fractions like this. They need to have the same common whole. Okay, so you're going to have to change the denominators to make sure that they represent the same. Okay, so that is rule 1. So that's the first thing you need to see when you're adding fractions. That's the first light bulb that should be going off in your head when you see two fractions and you're adding them. When you have the same denominators, then you move into rule 2, or number 2 that you do, is you add the numerators and you drag the denominator across. Okay, you do not want to add your denominators because you have the same denominator. You do not want to add them to get a different denominator than what you spent time on to get the same whole. Okay, that will make sense in a second when I get into my problems. So, let's go through a couple problems, okay? So I'm going to do one first, and then we'll walk through it together, okay? So if I give you the problem 2/10 and 4/10, okay? The first thing that should be going off in your head is the denominators. And in this case, our denominators are the same. So this problem is going to be easy peasy to get through, okay? So the way I do this is 2 plus 4. So I'm going to add my numerators, 2 plus 4, which is 6. Then I'm going to drag my denominator across, which is 10. Okay, so my answer would be 6/10. Okay, if I give you another problem, let's do 1/6 plus 3/6. Okay, the light bulb should be going off in your head that I have like denominators, which means my denominators are the same. So I'm going to add my numerators, 1 plus 3, which is 4. Drag my denominators across, which is 6. Again, you want to drag your denominators across instead of adding your denominators together to make sure you keep your whole the same, okay? So let's look at this. So if I gave you, this will make more sense of what I'm saying. So if I gave you 4/9 plus 4/9, okay? When you see this, your denominators are the same, so we're going to add. 4 plus 4 is 8, okay? Sometimes you want to do 9 plus 9, which is 18. You do not want to do that because you spent all this time making your wholes equal 9. Now your answer has a whole of 18. You don't want to do that. So that answer would be wrong. So if we looked at this answer again, or this problem again, 4/9 plus 4/9, 4 plus 4 is 8. Then you drag your denominator across, which is 9. Okay? So that kind of showed you why you do not add your denominators. You don't want to get a whole different answer that represents your whole. If you have unlike denominators and you spend time making them alike, you don't want to spend more time on getting a different whole or a different denominator. Okay, that's wasting more time. Okay, so let's go through a couple more examples. Okay, so if I gave you the problem 3/11 and 7/11, okay, the light bulb should be going off that your denominators are the same, so we can add across. 3 plus 7 is 10. Then drag my denominator across, which is 11. So my answer would be 10/11. Okay, now I want to show you this problem because I'm sure you get this problem a lot in math class. Okay, so if I give you the problem 2/5 plus 3/5. Okay, so when you look at this problem, you should automatically be looking at your denominators, and your denominators are the same. So what you can do is just add across. Okay, so 2 plus 3 is 5. Then drag your denominators across since they're alike, and it's 5. Oh, looky there, my fraction is 5/5. 5/5 represents the same thing as 1. So if you were to represent this fraction, 5/5, okay, so I'm going to draw my rectangle again. I'm going to split it into 5 pieces because 5 is my whole. what this is showing, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shaded pieces. Okay, so that's just a fancy way of showing 5 over 5 equals 1 whole. Because if you notice here, all my pieces are shaded. So that's a whole. So 5 over 5 equals a whole. So if I give you the problem 7 over 7, that would equal a whole. Okay, so a number over itself and the numerator and the denominator equals a whole. Because what that's saying, there's like that many pieces and that many wholes. So if I look at my problem 7/7, I have 7 pieces that are shaded and there are 7 total pieces. Okay, so that just represents a whole. Going back to our little diagram over here. You have that many pieces shaded and that many whole pieces. Okay, so I hope this video helped you all learn a little more about adding fractions to get you more comfortable with fractions, to be able to not be as terrified as to look at fractions as you might be. All right, thank you all for watching this video. Until next time, see you later.